So in this video, I want to show you two different ways that you can double the amount of new clients and ultimately the amount of members you get for your group training gym. And then you can decide which one is going to be easiest or best for you, and then you can go and implement it in your gym. So this is off the back of me chatting to one of our clients this morning who is trying to set his sales targets for January. So we were talking about it, and he essentially wants to double the amount of new clients and new members that he got in comparison to his last marketing campaign. Okay, so we first ran through the numbers from his last marketing campaign and what that actually looked like, and then discussed well, what are a couple of ways that we could double this moving forwards. Okay, so his last marketing campaign, so this was last month, he spent 1k on ads. Okay, so £1,000 on ads, and he got 100 leads, so about 10 quid a lead. And these are reasonably qualified leads because we're sending them through to a sales page with information about the program, with the price and all that kind of stuff, and not just to a crappy instant form lead form where you're just getting a lot of time wasters fill it in. And then from those 100 leads, and I've rounded these numbers up just for easy maths, but these were around where he was at. From those 100 leads, he closed 20%. Okay, so 20% lead to sale rate, which again is about the target. You want to be hitting about 20 to 25% in terms of your lead to sale rate. So of the leads that you get, you want to be closing almost immediately, 20 to 25%. There are going to be some from those 100 that become clients later down the line through email nurture and follow up and all that kind of stuff. But in the first few days, so in the first 2 to 3 to 4 days, you should be closing 20 to 25% of all the leads that you get. So he was in this range, 20%. So he ended up with 20 clients. Okay, so we had 20 new clients who paid him 200 quid for a 6-week challenge. So in a pretty good spot. He spent £1,000 on ads. He's got 20 times 200 back. So what's that, £4,000 back in cash collected. So in a really good spot there, quadrupling his money on the front end. Now, the number that really matters, and you'll know this if you've watched some of my previous videos on marketing, is what does it cost to acquire a new paying client. Okay, and in this case it was £50, because for every £50 we spent on ads, or he spent on ads, he got one new paying client. Okay, so you take the £1,000 ad spend, you divide it by 20. That means that a CPA, so cost per acquisition, was 50 quid. So in a really, really good spot. If you can put £50 in and get a new client that pays you £200, you're quadrupling your money on the front end. So it's a really, really good return. You're essentially buying clients for 50 quid and having them pay you 4 times that just on their first payment. Then the next step in this is turning those into members. So obviously they're going to go through that initial intro program, so the 6-week challenge, and he closes about 50% of these into members. So his member conversion rate, we call it, is 50%. Now, a lot of gyms will say, well, I close 80%, I close 90%. That might be true, but it's almost always the case that when you dig into that, it's 80 to 90% of people who are coming from word of mouth or really close referrals from other members. When you're running paid ads and getting new clients at scale on a monthly basis, and you're running ads to cold traffic with a specific offer, it's common but also very acceptable to close about 50% of those into members on the back end. So, for every 10 people that finish a 6-week challenge, around 5 of them will stick around as a member and pay you, £1,000, £2,000, £3,000, whatever it is on the back end, depending on how long they stay. Okay, so from this marketing campaign, he ended up with 10 new members. Okay, so pretty good results overall, because he's put £1,000 in, he's collected £4,000 cash on the front end, he's got then 10 members that might pay him £2,000 a year on the back end. Now, going into December and marketing to pre-sell ahead of time for January, he wanted to double this amount, and his first port of call with this was, can we improve our close rate? So can we get that up? And then can we improve our member conversion rate? Which logically makes sense. Can we close more of the leads that we get in, and can we convert more of the clients that we're getting into members? Because he wanted to keep his ad spend around £1,000. So we ran through what that would look like to do that. Okay, so if we keep the ad spend around £1,000, let's, for argument's sake, let's say that it still generates 100 leads, so that stays consistent. But then we managed to improve the close rate from 20% to 30%. So instead of closing 20% of the leads, you're closing 30% of the leads. Okay, and that's not just a 10% increase, that's like a 50% increase. Okay, you're adding 50% to the amount of people that you close. This is not impossible, but hard to do if you're already achieving pretty good numbers. If you've got a team of coaches or even just yourself doing sales and you're closing 20%-ish, going from 20% to 30% and maintaining that is not impossible, but it can be tricky, okay? It can be tricky, and also you don't know if any of the changes that you make are definitely going to work, okay? So, but regardless, we ran through the rest of it anyway. So let's say you've gone from 20% close rate to 30% close rate. That means that you end up with 30 new clients at 200 quid, okay? Terrible writing there. And the acquisition cost then comes to around 33 quid if I'm doing the mental maths quickly enough, okay? So 33 quid, obviously still a really, really good cost per acquisition, actually a better cost per acquisition. You're getting a better return on ads, on your ad spend by increasing this close rate to 30%, okay? Then the next step then would be, can we, move our member conversion rate from 50% up to 60%? So can we improve that a bit as well? And again, this is hard to do. If you're already closing 50%, to really purposefully go from 50 to 60% is actually quite tricky. You could make changes to the sales script, follow-up processes, but there's no guarantee that these changes are definitely going to work. But let's say that they do. Even then, you end up with 18 new members, so just a bit short of doubling the member numbers that you wanted on the back end. So that's like option one, is like try and improve each step in the funnel. And if you're not achieving like a good acquisition cost, then you should definitely, try and do that. You should try and improve it. If you're only closing 5 to 10%, there's something going wrong. If you're getting leads that are costing you 50 quid a lead, there's something going wrong. If you're losing money in the acquisition process, so you're spending 200, 300, 400 pounds to get a client who pays you 200 pounds, there's something going wrong. But if your acquisition cost is in a good range, like it was here, every 50 quid he put into ads, he was getting one new paying client who paid him 200, then realistically, none of this really needs to change, okay? And trying to change it without any guarantee that it is actually going to improve could actually be quite a dangerous thing to do, but like something that would result in a worse result than you're actually aiming for or that you've previously achieved. Then obviously if your member conversion rate is like 20, 30%, then there's probably something going wrong on the conversion side of things. You want to look to improve that, okay? But this, like I say, is one option, like to try and get close to doubling the amount of members that he gets from his next marketing campaign. It's keep the ad spend the same, around £1,000, but try and improve the close rate, try and improve the member conversion rate. Now, the other option was really simply just to double the ad spend, okay? So instead of spending £1,000 on ads, can we spend £2,000 on ads? So assuming everything remains the same and scales up, that would mean getting 200 leads, okay? So going from getting 100 leads to getting 200 leads. And then if we still closed just 20%, so we didn't get better at closing, we're still closing 20% like we did here, then we end up with 40 new clients, okay? 200 leads, close 20%, you get 40 clients at £200, okay? So I'm just going to do the quick maths on that. 200 times 40, so that's 8k of revenue, okay? So we've doubled the revenue that we collected, also doubled the amount of members that have come in, or new clients that have come in, I should say. Acquisition cost stayed the same, and it was already good, so it's still 50 quid, because 2k divided by 40 is 50, so every £50 we spent on ads, you get a new paying client who paid you £200. This is very acceptable like it was in the beginning, so we don't really need to change that, okay? Like for my gym, I've just lost connection with my screen share, 1 second. All right, we're back. So I was just saying, with my gym, we're aiming for our cost per acquisition to be less than £100. So if I can get a new client for £100 or less, who then pays us £200 for a challenge, I'm happy with that, because I'm essentially getting to buy a new client for £100 who pays me £200, so I'm doubling my money on the front end, and then I convert a percentage of those into members on the back end. So next step, let's just say member conversion rate for this gym owner stayed the same, so still around the 50% mark. That means that those 40 clients turn into 20 new members. So he's doubled the output which is what he was aiming for. He's gone from getting 10 new members in his last marketing campaign last month to getting 20 new members from the marketing campaign that he's going to run in December. And all you would actually have to do in this example is double the ad spend. So can we spend more on ads and everything else remain the same? So can we get, a similar cost per lead, similar close rate, to end up with more members? And yes, we increased ad spend and spent another £1,000, but we also generated another £4,000 of front end revenue in comparison to this over here. Okay, so we've more than liquidated the ad spend there because the acquisition cost maintained the same, and then our member conversion rate stayed the same, and he ends up with 20 new members who, like I said before, is going to pay 2, 3, 4 grand on the back end, however long they stay for as a member. So when you break it down like that, yes, you could try and go into let's improve the close rate, let's improve the member conversion rate, let's try and get our acquisition cost down. But if those things are already in an acceptable range, sometimes the very easiest thing to do is just feed more people into the funnel. So buy more traffic, send more people through to your sales page, close a percentage of those people into paying clients and convert those into members. And if that's already working well, you've got that funnel firing, then just sending more people into that is the easiest, most straightforward way that you can get better results, or you can double the output. Okay, so you put twice as much in terms of eyeballs, traffic and leads, and everything else stays the same. You're going to get twice as many members out down here when you get to the bottom of the funnel, so to speak. Now, obviously, this is dependent on you having every step in the funnel set up and working well. So the ads, the sales page, the automations, the sales follow-up, the sales frameworks, the member conversion, the client onboarding, all of that kind of stuff.